Hello friends, welcome back to the next session on operations planning, scheduling and control. Now let's begin with our learning. In this particular session, we will be understanding and dealing with the concept of MTO scenarios. The learning objectives. From this particular session, you will be able to understand what do we mean by MTO, that is definition of an MTO, what are the various functions that have been performed under MTO, and what are the various activities that have been undertaken with respect to the prerequisites of MTO. Now let's first understand what do we mean by MTO. MTO stands for the function of make to order production. In terms of the MTO strategy, it deals with the standardization of a particular product which have a clear and well-defined specification. So, make to order production is a certain series of activities which takes into account about what activity or what production is need to be undertaken. Based on those particular identification, we need to identify about how or in what way the raw material is needed to be procured and how the production activity is needed to be undertaken. So, make to order production specifically focuses on a defined series of activities for creating a qualitative product. There is no absolutely forecast on product which are made to order for a customer. So in this case, whenever we are manufacturing or producing a particular product, there is no forecast with respect to what quality, quantity and potency of the product is needed to be prepared. But with the help of make to order production, we can prepare a better and qualitative product which are of a standardized nature and which will be able to satisfy the need, want and desire of a particular individual. And hence it focuses on the concept of availability of goods and services as per the need and requirement of a certain consumer. The starting of production activity is always based on the customer request. That is, when we understand whether there is an MTS into hand or whether there is an no applicability of MTS. The MTS is a certain concept with respect to make to service or the service operations that needs to be undertaken in the business cycle. The make to order production is a certain concept which is an advanced level of ATO, that is assembled to order. When the goods and services are being assembled, so based on the assemblability of the goods and services, the next activity of making to order is being undertaken. And one has to identify about which activities are needed to be undertaken and in what way the activities will be completed. And hence production first takes place and order or sales happen to be at a later stage. So ATO is the first step, whereas MTO is the second step in the production activity to see that the activity that has been conducted, the production that has been done is of a very effective nature. Now let's understand what does MTO provides. It provides an identifying for a certain product. So based on an MTO strategy, one person is able to identify what product we are manufacturing, why we are manufacturing, and what is the purpose of manufacturing a certain product. Lead time to the customer. So here in this case, when we are manufacturing a certain product, it provides a certain feasibility or a certain guideline about what the product will be and what will be the order that will be placed. So make to order always focuses on the concept of how you are producing the particular product and in what way it will be delivered to the consumer. So why the product is being manufactured, it is been clearly defined and explained in terms of availability of the MTO existence. The availability check in the sales order. The check in the sales order clearly signifies about what are the amount of raw materials that will be used, how it will be implemented or used in the production line, and what are the various series of activities that can be made applicable. So, availability of check in the sales order is essentially required, and based on those concerns, the MTO strategy can be implemented. The time for the processes. Now, as we have seen, MTO is an extension or next level of ATO, and hence being ATO a time series of activities, the MTO is also a time bound activity. All those activities that have been conducted in terms of MTO are also of a certain specified time period, and with a series or a sequence or flow of activities, they have been undertaken. Replenishment or reproducing the product. Here, in this case, if the manager of a particular firm or a manufacturing unit want to change any of the decision with respect to the manufacturing, production or operational activity, those particular changes in the decision can be undertaken, and accordingly the production or the operations activity can be identified. The customer requests the item. So here at any stage, if there is a change in the requisition from a certain customer, then accordingly make to order, that is MTO strategy, can be made applicable and can be used for making the necessary changes in the production. And hence changing in the order, changing the production activity is essentially required and can be done very easily. No freely available stock to the fulfillment of order. So once the ATO, that is assemble to order, is into existence and MTO, that is make to order, is been applied, it is very difficult to change the order that is been placed. And hence one has to be very careful while implementing an MTO strategy, and they has to see that whatever order that has been given, it has been fulfilled or it has been completed within the specified time period made from scratch. So always the MTO strategy focuses on producing a certain amount of goods and services right from the availability of raw material to the process of finished stock, that is the finished goods. And hence the usage of raw material, the consumption and utilization of scratch, whatever waste material is into existence, all those things are needed to be used in an effective way, and hence optimum utilization of the scarce and available resources is being undertaken in terms of MTO as a certain scenario. Now let's see what is the composition of MTO business. MTO business, that is make to order business strategy, focuses on the concept of standardization. The concept of standardization is been leading with respect to the four factors or the five factors. That is, it is related to the modularization, the concept of configuration, the concept of automation, the new product development, the incremental product development, and lastly, the lean improvements. When all those series of activities or the functions have been conducted in an effective way, then we can identify and see that the business processes that have been undertaken with respect to the MTO scenario are being well effectively coordinated and they are giving fruitful benefit to the organization. Now, why there is a disconnect between the sales and production and the MTO strategy? So let's understand the process or steps in detail. The assembly strategy with respect to MTO cannot be planned for 100% or more. So the management or the strategic decision making with respect to MTO is always aiming for 100% results. But in case of an MTO strategy, this particular concern cannot be applied because it is not achievable. And hence there is no connect or there is a disconnect between the sales and production activity. Utilization on the production line and allow for the free flow of order cannot be expected. In terms of an ATO, it is been expected that the assemble to order is always being in a sequence way and an organized way. In terms of the MTO, that is make to order, it deals with the availability of goods and services on the specified time period for qualitative terms and quantitative terms. So in this case, the utilization of production line or activity is, it cannot be guaranteed and it cannot be seen that it will be achieved in the specified time period, and hence expectations can be either fulfilled or it cannot be fulfilled. The production schedule. Whatever schedule that has been prepared with respect to the production, it may be fulfilled or it may not be fulfilled. It may be achieved or it may not be achieved, and hence there is no stability or confirmation with respect to the schedule that may be complied or it may not be complied. Always there is a certain pressure that is available on the production line, and if the pressure on the production line increases, then accordingly, based on the consideration of the availability of goods and services, based on the consideration of the time constraint, the production activity may be completed or may not be completed. Falling into the backlog and quoted lean time to the customer is a farce. So here in this case we have to understand what is the description or what is the drawback with respect to the backlog time that has been required. A certain time frame that has been set for completion of activity may be completed or it may not be completed, and hence for this particular scenario one has to understand that whatever time frame that has been set, it is needed to be fulfilled, and once it is not been fulfilled, then how various strategies can be implemented for completion of those activities. So here in this case, we have identified that MTO, that is make to order strategy, is a technique for goods or products which are in a processing line. So when goods have been moving from one place to another place, what strategy or techniques are needed to be applied and what activities are needed to be undertaken. Again, it deals with the processes or activities right from the input, that is from the raw material, to the output, that is the finished goods. The optimum utilization of scarce and available resources is essentially undertaken in this particular concept of MTO. And when we come to the perspectives of optimum utilization of resources, the resources are of a very scarce and limited nature, and hence the concept of scarcity is being essentially utilized, or it is being applicable. Another last concept is with respect to the utilization of factors of production. The factors of production with respect to the land, labor, capital, enterprise, and resources are being effectively employed, and it is being seen that an utmost benefit is being created with respect to the MTO that is being implemented. Lastly, the MTO is of a both perspective. That is, it is treating itself or giving a certain output with respect to the quantitative terms as well as the qualitative terms. Now let's summarize what we have learned in this particular session. In this particular session, we have understood what do we mean by MTO, that is make to order, what are the various important need or functions that have been performed in a manufacturing unit with respect to an MTO, and lastly, we have seen what are the various activities that have been performed under MTO. I hope you must have enjoyed the learning. Thank you.